In 1994, rapper Mystikal's sister Michelle Tyler was viciously murdered. Damon Neville was charged and later acquitted with her murder. Neville stated that he was not even at the scene. He even quoted saying that Mystikal said he wasn't there either. However, Mystikal made a song called Murderer, and he accused Neville of murdering his sister. Mystikal even spoke about what he was going to do in revenge to Neville for murdering his sister. In November of 2007, Angela Bryant, 41, who is the oldest sister of the famed producer-rapper Manny Fresh, and she was a mother of two. She lived in New Orleans and she was found dead in her home due to a gunshot wound. And Manny Fresh's former partner in the Big Timers, Birdman, stated that he lost his sister that following year in a fatal car crash. So Mystikal pleaded guilty to sexual battery and extortion. Back in January 15th of 2004, Mystikal was sentenced to 6 years in state prison after he pleaded guilty to sexually assaulting his hairstylist. The rapper and two bodyguards forced the woman to perform oral sex and accused her of stealing $80,000 in checks. As part of the pleading deal, all three pleaded guilty, and Mystikal initially claimed that the incident was consensual. But a videotape of the incident was later found at his home shortly after the charges were made. Negotiations during that trial held the videotape from being entered as evidence, and Mystikal agreed to the plea bargain, and he was offered by the prosecution of avoiding that mandatory life sentence for sexual battery in Louisiana. And so, expecting to receive probation, however, the case took a twist when the judge viewed the tape at the sentencing and took into account Mystikal's 2 prior arrests for drug and gun possession, and reprimanded him into custody to begin serving a 6-year sentence. Immediately, Mystikal's bodyguards, Leland Ellis and Versie Carter, also pleaded guilty to sexual battery. Back in August of 2005, while incarcerated on the state sexual battery and extortion charges, Mystikal was charged federally with 2 misdemeanor counts of failing to file tax returns for 1998 and 1999. So this rabbit hole seems to be going mighty deep, deep, deep. Damon Neville claims that he did not kill Mystikal's sister. He wasn't even at the house. And once again, Mystikal says in the beginning that he wasn't there either. So the big question is, who killed Michelle Tyler? And why? And why was she found in the home where she lived, and her brother Mystikal was the one who found her body? These questions still haunt some people until this very day. No one knows. It's such a mystery how a person can walk into one's home, stab their sibling 16 times. No one heard any screams. No one heard any furniture moving. To stab somebody 16 times is a vicious and brutal attack that should be heard. Screams, blood-curdling screams. No one just stabs someone 16 times and no one hears anything. I find this very odd. Okay, so once again, guys, Damon Neville claims he didn't do it. So who did it?
At one point in time, you were falsely accused of murder. Right. You care to talk a little bit about that situation and what went down with the police?
Yeah, it's all good, man. Like I said, first let me put it out there that, not only was I kind of like, involved in that shit, but I was using drugs at the time too. You know what I mean, if you got in your possession just a plethora of drugs, of course, as a youth, I was like 19, 20, 21, or some shit like that. I've used that shit. I loved it. It was good shit. But it had my mind framed to a point where I didn't give a shit about nothing else except that money and getting high. You know what I'm saying? Pushing that shit. So to kind of give you a little bit on the police shit, man. You know, like I said, a lot of this shit is touchy, but a lot of the people have been either convicted of some shit or dead or in jail for life. So we ain't dropping no names, but there was a situation, man, where I didn't know that I was dealing with a police officer until I got arrested and went to jail and saw the dude who just dropped me 280 pounds a week. And he was like, oh shit, hold up, what you done? I got it. And he called somebody and they sent the money and they got me out. You know what I'm saying? It was just like, I was like, fuck, okay. You know, I mean, I had no clue this dude. I was in the fucking precinct being booked. And he just happened to pass and say, hold up, what he done? You know, and he paid, you know, he called whoever he called and they paid my bond and got me out. You know what I'm saying? And I never heard another situation, another peep about that particular situation. So, to go a little further, with that said, when shit really got crazy was, you know, my girl was killed, and I did, like I said, I knew from the arrest that this dude was the police now, so now I'm dealing with this cat, and some shit went on, man, and you know, I fucked around and took some shit that I wasn't supposed to take because I ain't going to say a disagreement. It was because of you know, he handled me bad. You know what I'm saying? We was in a predicament where we was in a parking lot with a lot of people, and he's sitting in this badass whip with this chick, and you know, I'm going to the vehicle saying, man, come on, look, make the drive. This is not the place for this shit. And he telling me, motherfucker, fuck that, you know, this and that. You working for me, da. So, you know, after a couple of times insulting my manhood and integrity and talking to me stupid in front of this female, I just got pissed and said, fuck that, and did some shit and took some shit that didn't belong to me. I mean, some of it was supposed to be for me, but I mean, when I got the bag, I was like, oh shit. I was like, fuck. You know what I'm saying? I was like, I really didn't understand the magnitude of the situation because I was just focused on my world. You know what I'm saying? I didn't give a shit about who else was involved or whatever. But once you see that big picture, you know that's that oh shit moment. Like I fucked up. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
it's just crazy because I had no clue the amount of police who was involved with this shit. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's the corruption is deep, man, and I mean it was all about the dollar, of course, you know. That's all it was about. They didn't give a shit about nothing else. It was money.
Yeah.
So, you know, so there's that. That's it. That's it, man. I mean, you know, and that's the case with a lot of shit these days. Even, you know, when you look around at the political situation, it's not they don't give a shit about the people. I mean, if they do, they fooled me. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, everybody flying in jets and all this old different shit, while the people who paying all the money and paying taxes 3-4 times over and shit they work for, you know, they struggling. While all of the big wigs flying in jets and taking their broads to islands and all this old type of shit, you know. But it is what it is. That's a whole other conversation, you know. But the political corruption for the police, man, that shit is like historical. They even have a few documentaries on the corruption of police in New Orleans. I've seen a few. And I was like, God damn, I was right in the midst of that shit. You know what I'm saying? But glad I didn't get caught up to the point where I had to go, you know, sit down for 40 years for somebody else's shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because initially, didn't they were trying to charge you.
Well, yeah, they did actually. They did actually charge me with the murder because, you know, it was, like I said once again, the shit is so crazy and it goes so many different directions. What happened was when I got to the location of the crime scene, my mother called me and said, come home now. And I was like, shit, your house or mine? You know, and she was like, your house, you know, uptown. So I was like, all right. So, you know, when I went, everybody was standing outside, and I saw everybody except for my girl. And so I kind of put it together, you know, you can look at the scene and kind of see if she ain't there, then something will fucking happen. So I jump out the vehicle and try to run to the door. They tackled me. So the two officers that tackled me, they took me into, you know, they just whipped me in the car and took me off. Now, I had no clue that these dudes was a part of whatever the fuck they was a part of. You know what I'm saying? So when I get to the interrogation office, they handcuff me to the table. They fucking, you know, I'm high as fuck. I'm high as fuck. I was coked out. I've been snorting coke and shit and smoking blunts and dirty blunts and shit. But I was still aware of my surroundings. So they took me in there, they handcuffed me to the table and went to telling me, the first thing they asked me was, where is the dope? Now, they didn't ask me shit about the girl until I fucking denied having the dope. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, I don't know. They beat me up, punching me in my face, kicking me in my fucking chest. My fucking face swole up. I could barely talk. You know, they beat the shit out. But they had me in there for 8 hours, beating my ass, all behind the drugs. And then somewhere along the line, they went to asking me about the situation. You know, and I was like, man, I ain't do that shit. And they was like, beating the piss out of me. Because I really had no clue to what the fuck was going on until they said something to me, because I still had no clue, because at the first point, my girl was riding around with my cousin in a brand new Mercedes that her husband had just purchased. So she wasn't even at the crib. You know what I'm saying? So she wasn't even supposed to be home. So I had no clue, really, of what the fuck was going on, but I still was kind of curious, because why everybody else here, and, you know, but anyway, so they started whooping my ass, they beat me up and shit, asking me what to do, and then they started telling me situations like, you did this, huh? And I was like, no, I ain't do it. And they choked me out and had a gun in my head and all this old shit and say, you fucking did it. And me, as a 20-something-year-old, you know, I'm like, fuck this shit, I'm trying to live. These motherfuckers want to hear something, I'm going to tell them what they want to hear. I said, okay, yeah, all right, I done it. And they said, well, how you did it? And I said, man, I don't fucking know. And they hit me again. And then they started spilling over the information to me, telling me, you know, what happened or what they thought happened. And, you know, for me to repeat the shit. So they said, you did it like this, huh? And I just repeated what the fuck they said. You know what I'm saying? And for eight hours later, I go and they put me on the 10th floor trying to say I was fucking crazy. You know what I'm saying? After they whipped my ass and trying to find out where the dope was, when I didn't give it up, they just pinned me to the fucking murder. You know? And that shit for me was crazy, because once I came down and was you know, in a clear state of mind, I was like, oh fuck, what the fuck I done? And then my lawyer came to me and he was like, listen, he looked at me first and he took pictures and he was like, oh shit, you know, this and that. And so I was like, bruh, I said, man, he said, you know, he asked me, did I do it? And I said, man, no, I didn't. I said, listen, they beat the shit out of me, they fucking made me say certain shit. So, with that said, he produced a report of what happened. So once I saw what happened on this report that he was telling me, the shit didn't link up, because they didn't even know what the crime scene was like, because they was fresh on the, you know, they didn't even stay there and investigate or whatever and get the whole gist of the story. So when I found out, I'm like, God damn, all this shit, you know. So my story didn't match up with what the fuck they made me say. You know what I'm saying? So for me, you know, after all of that shit and we going to trial and shit, man, I thought I was done for, because you got police involved, you got, you know, all kind of shit happening. So I just thought I was done. I was like, fuck, man, I'm going to prison for the rest of my life for some shit I ain't do. I say all the different shit I've done in my life and you know, kind of got away with for street shit, and I get popped for something like this, some shit I did do, and I'm about to go to penitentiary for this. No, it's not about to happen. So my lawyer, you know, we did work shit out, and we went on ahead and started getting the fucking case together, because I wasn't home. My fucking, you know, they found a couple of different fibers of hair and different shit on the scene, you know, and the way they described the crime, man, I'd have been covered in fucking blood. You understand what I'm saying? So they took me straight to the police station. So for me, man, look, this is a big fucking deal. So you can understand how many, throughout the, you know, history of my life, all those years of walking around with, you know, holding on to some shit that I didn't do and never spoke on it and was just living my life, but still running across situations where people were saying, oh, that's that motherfucker who did this. You know what I'm saying? Because I never spoke on it. So they was fed one-sided information, You know what I'm saying? First of all, I found not guilty. They didn't have no fucking evidence. They didn't have nothing on me because I wasn't even home. I was somewhere else doing some other shit. So
you had a rock solid alibi then?
Well, yeah, the alibi was rock solid, but if I would have told them actually what I was doing, they probably would have arrested me for that shit. But it was a rock solid alibi because people saw me and other people knew that I wasn't fucking home. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't even there. Even the brother, even he, you know, he came downstairs and he said I wasn't there. But then when it got to the courtroom, he did something different. You know what I'm saying? It was kind of weird to me because first he was in my corner, and then the next thing I know, he get in the courtroom and start saying some other shit. But I understand because this your people, and I get it. I'm not mad with that dude or nothing. I ain't got no problems with you. Regardless of what you have against me, I'm not going to bash you. I'm not going to do none of that. But it just tripped me out to see that in the courtroom that you went another way after, you know, what was said. And you know I wouldn't do no shit like this.
So her brother even said that you weren't there. So that,
he said a bunch of shit. He said I wasn't there. He said a lot of stuff. But like I said, I understand because this is touching, man. This is family. You know what I'm saying? So who knows what a man gonna do or say when he in the, you know, when somebody you love has been touched like that. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, I don't have no animosity toward him. You did a bunch of shit, said a bunch of shit. I ain't got no problem with that. You did what you did. I understand. You had to get your hand out. It is what it is. But me, myself, personally, I would never make a record or you know, a lot of people saying you should come back with a diss record and say this and say that. I'm not going to profit off of somebody's demise. It's not my shit. You know what I'm saying? My integrity, my morals, my ethics are brought up the right way, even though I took a wrong path. I'm not going to do that. So that was always out of the books for me. Yeah, no, man, no doubt, because that was never on the plate, on the table for me. I'm not going to come back saying what I'm going to do or what this and that. I'm not doing that. That's, you know, this G shit. I'm not no damn plastic rapper or plastic MC. This truth for me. So if I speak it, I'm going to do it. If I make a threat, I'm not going to. So that's some shit that I'm not into. You know what I'm saying? And I had very much compassion. I even reached out a couple of times to try to, you know, talk with family and let them know, look, man, this wasn't me. I didn't do this shit. You know what I'm saying? But, you know,
you ever find the killers?
Nah, well, I'm gonna tell you like this: when I come home, anybody I felt like had something to do with it, you know, it was some street court shit. You know what I'm saying? It was just some street shit. But I mean, you know, that's a thing that for me too is still kind of fucked up. It's like they never really said, you know, they never found somebody to charge the shit. It did because, like I said, it was just so much you can't look. I ain't even know where to look. But if I felt like somebody had something to do with the shit, I did what I had to do. You know what I'm saying? And it was just too many layers to the shit, man. You got police, you got, you know how many people they was trying to protect? You know what I'm saying? You had lawyers and judges and everything who was all corrupt in that whole little circle. You know what I mean? When I would tell people that shit, they were like, oh, you tripping and this and that, you crazy and whatever. But man, this shit was layers. It wasn't just about me. This shit was bigger than me. So look, while I'm in court, like I was in court, bro, facing this shit, right? Matter of fact, I was on trial the same time OJ was on trial. And so I had to watch that and then watch myself. I'm like, damn, they put OJ on, then they put me on. And I'm like, fuck, you know what I'm saying? And so during court, there had some weird-looking fellas in there that I knew wasn't a part of his side of the family or my side of the family. They were just dudes in there, and they would just sit there and look. So every time I looked to the back, the motherfucker be, you know, looking at me just sitting there, you know. And when I say weird-looking dudes, I'm talking about, you know, some not some just street shit. I'm talking about some mafia-looking type shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or lynchman type
shit.
Mafia's
big in New Orleans, man. Yeah.
And you got to realize with the police and with all this shit going on, you don't know who is who. So you know, for me to try to say I could have an idea of who did it, many people gonna kill. I even got threat letters to say if you say any fucking thing about the drugs, about anything, we're gonna kill your fucking family. They named family members. You know what I'm saying? So of course I'm gonna shut the fuck up and kill the